Hi, I'm Tracey with Spilling the Tea, and I'm so excited to introduce you today to Kelly Dorman. She's my dear friend from a long time ago, and we're going to show you how she's gone from farm girl to world changer. Kelly, I'm so excited to have you.
Well, I'm excited to be here, Tracey.
We had so much fun at dinner the other night that that's kind of where this whole thing came from. Is we started talking about how we could solve the entire world and make it a better place. And so it's exciting to actually be here today to actually talk about those things.
I know. I'm so excited. I firmly believe that if I ruled the world, I would be well. It's just my belief.
Spoken like a true queen.
Like a Leo.
I love it. You want to start with tea?
I would love to.
So which one did you choose?
The raspberry blend.
Be careful to hold the lid whenever you pour it.
Okay, let me first get some sugar because I like things super sweet. What about you?
I do too. Actually, I don't drink mine with sugar.
You don't? I firmly believe there's something wrong with people who drink their coffee black or their tea with no sugar.
Well, I will agree with you. There's definitely something wrong with me.
Next, you're going to tell me you don't like animals.
But you know what? You're going to give me sugar. Okay, go ahead. Put the sugar in there.
Look, I'll do this.
But look, I got a cookie. Because I sat there and looked at how pretty you made the plate, and I was like, I got to have a cookie.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to pour some tea?
Yes, please.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
it's gorgeous.
it is so pretty.
Yes.
It smells so good. I'm going to let mine cool off just a bit.
This is my first time trying your tea.
Well, and I thought it was so cool this morning when you were telling me the other day about that tea that you love so much, and then you thought it was strawberry.
I did.
And then you were like, it's raspberry.
I know.
And it said raspberry and hibiscus. Well, guess what's in here?
Hibiscus.
Raspberry and hibiscus. It actually has more hibiscus than anything. So, and it's super good for you. Okay, so let's talk about one of the things that we were talking about the other night is just how small changes in humans really can make an impact on the world. Tell me your thoughts on that.
It's so true. I firmly believe in the power of one person and their ability to make change, within their own community. A lot of times people think they think about the whole state or the whole country or the whole world, and then they get overwhelmed and they end up doing nothing at all. So for me, it's really important to recognize how important individual connections are and just how much one person can change even one person's life.
So tell the audience a little bit about your background, because we've known each other for a long time. I was trying to remember, it's been at least...
I would say...
Carson is 13, almost 13, so it was before Carson was born.
Yeah. Well, I started at my current job in 2009.
Okay.
And I worked with you 3 years prior to that, right?
Wow.
So maybe 2006.
Oh my gosh, okay,
long,
so that it doesn't seem like time. It should have been that long ago.
No.
So tell everybody about, because you grew up in a really unique environment.
I did. I grew up on a farm. And when I was little, we had hogs and barn tobacco and all that. And so then eventually the farm transitioned to a turkey farm. And my dad did some crops and he had some cattle. And I went away to college. I went to Campbell. And then not long after that, I moved to the beach. I always knew my soul needed the ocean and I needed to be close to the water. And I ended up here, and I've been here ever since.
Isn't it a great place to live?
It is. The sunsets are just so surreal, and they're just moments of calm. And I really, especially over this last year, have tried to make an effort to, chase them a little bit more.
So I love sunsets as well, but I love sunrises. And so for years I've made my kids get up. I'll set my timer and be like, okay, the sun rises at 6:02. And we would get up, and you know what? Every single time they would complain about, I don't want to go. I don't care about the sunrise. And then we would get there, and they would always say the same thing. Thank you for making us do this.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, and then what are you doing now?
You have
kind of a conglomeration of things that you do.
I'm a lot. I have hands in a lot of different pots, but I am a social worker with Child Protective Services, and I have been for the last 13 years. And I recently transitioned into the role of the Child Welfare Training Supervisor. So now I train all of our baby social workers and work on equipping them with everything they need to be successful in their work with the families in our community. And then in my spare time, I volunteer with really 3 different amazing rescue organizations, Misplaced Mutts, Silent Cat Allies, and Beaufort Community Cat Project. And we work really hard to make a difference in the overpopulation of animals within our community here in Carteret County. And then I foster with Misplaced Mutts.
I love watching your posts to see, like, how many cats does she have today? And I was cracking up the other night when we were at dinner with Shar, and you were like, tell everybody about how you were going to go for just a walk, or was it dinner or walk? And
Yes. My friend Shar had no clue what she was getting into when I said, hey, I need to go set some traps tonight. And she's like, oh, I'll go with you. And her face when we got there, I mean, I literally was crawling through the woods setting these traps, and then you're kind of in not so great places, so you may feel a little unsafe, but I'm just so used to them, I just barrel right on in and go. And
courageous.
Yeah, I guess
for a cause
always, always. Yeah.
Your whole face lit up when I said for a cause, and you were like, for a cause.
It's
always
true.
I know.
One of my favorite t-shirts says work for a cause, not applause. And that is just so important. Because it's not about, it's not about recognition. It's truly about, I have been fortunate in that I've identified ways I can make a difference that I'm passionate about. And that's what I would just encourage every person to do.
What would you say to that person that's sitting home thinking about, well, I just don't know how I don't know what I'm passionate about. How do you find your passion?
Well, we always let ourselves off the hook. We come up with all the reasons why we can't get up off the couch and do it, right? We think someone else has got it. Someone else is going to fix it. We see a problem, and it gives us comfort to think, okay, that's not my problem. It doesn't have to be. But instead of looking at it as a problem, look at it as an opportunity for you to grow and for you to make a difference. There's so much within our community. There's so much need. Animals, children, families, there's so many people struggling. And I just think that we all have a role in that. And I think go out and volunteer. 10 different organizations.
So we talked about this the other night, and you were telling me about this particular person that was, I was trying to think what you said that, you're telling me a story about how they just adopted an entire family.
Yes.
It was for Christmas,
yes,
right?
Yes, Monica.
Okay, so tell me about Monica, because I will be honest with you, when you said that, I was convicted. I was like, okay, Tracey, why are you not doing something like that? So you telling me the story of Monica was like, I think I said to you, put me on the list. Like, I can totally do that.
You did. Well, what's interesting is Monica is a business owner within our community, and she somehow, I don't even know how we became linked, because around Christmas time, everyone wants to help, right?
Right.
And so I get all these Facebook messages and all of these, wonderful people. I call them Christmas helpers. And so I have a spreadsheet and they go on it. And one year, Monica, said, hey, I can take a couple kids. And then it turned into, wait a second, let me help the entire family. Because, we have programs within our community that help the kids, but no one helps the parents, and no one helps, the family as a whole.
That hurts my heart.
And so Monica every year now will reach out to me about this time, and she'll say, give me a whole family. So I try to find a family that's making some progress, that's really trying, and could just use a break. And she meets them where they are. Everything goes through our social workers, so it's not direct interaction, but she will hear, okay, we had one family, they needed dishes. They didn't have even a piece of art on the wall. She just helped them put together their apartment and make it into a home. And it just was so special.
Good about.
So this year, she's asked for 2 families instead of just one. So it's growing. And, hopefully it will continue to grow, because it's so, whenever people see that someone that doesn't know them is investing in their well-being and their future and their success, like, you can't measure the impact that can have. You just can't.
That's true.
And we all literally can do something.
So what would you tell people? How do you start?
I would say, within your community, obviously there are certain professions where they know the suffering, right? Child protection is one of those. a lot of people call and want to help our foster kids. Foster kids are okay. They have a support network of people who help.
That's a good point. And we think about them like as an outsider, right? Yeah. We're not in your world.
Because and child CPS has kind of a negative connotation at times, because there are times we have to intervene and make sure kids are safe. But we also work with a lot of families and successfully close their case who could just use a helping hand from time to time. I mean, listen, kids don't have toothbrushes. We recently got a donation from the Dental Study Club, brand new toothbrushes that we can take out. And when I started this job, it kind of made me grateful that I was born to parents who taught me how to brush my teeth, who taught me how you bathe every day, who taught me certain basic things that we just take for granted.
So true.
That there's a lot of kids out there that don't know these simple things. And they're excited to show you. I mean, when they're with you and you say, show me how you brush your teeth, they're so excited over a toothbrush.
Oh, so as a community, what can we do? Like, what does our community right here, what do we need? I love what you said, and I think we should really talk about this for a minute, just about how the first thing that I heard you say is don't make excuses.
Don't, because listen, we can talk ourselves out of anything.
Right.
I can talk myself right into staying on my couch.
Right.
And not going out to find a cat or not go out and, do ABCD.
What is it that gets you up though and gets you?
There is like this innate thing in me, this voice that says, get up, Kelly. You can do more. And there is this thing, helpers sometimes feel guilt, right? We feel guilt when we put something else first over the helping, like dinner with a friend. Right. We feel guilt because that's time we could have been. But there's this really fine balance between taking care of yourself and taking care of others. So it's just, I think helper's guilt, and I think there's an official name for it. It's a very real thing.
I could see that too.
Because you can burn out.
Right.
You can go so hard and then you're just never caring for yourself and you're depleted. Then you're no good to anyone.
Well, do you ever feel discouraged, and what do you do to get over that hump?
I do.
I would think so.
I do.
I think that's why I would think, like for me anyways, I'm going to be honest, like I would talk myself out of being any kind of social worker because I would think, oh my gosh, like I would be depressed all the time. So does that really happen?
Yes. I mean, we have social workers burn out. For me, I stay focused on this, and this has kind of been the thing that I have said since I decided to accept this job. If a child lives in it, I can walk into it, and I can sit there a while, and I can be comfortable, and I can learn what they need to improve it.
You're such a good human.
Oh, no.
You really are.
There's a whole group of helpers in our community. There are people who do far more than I do. It's just, when you meet them, it's magical. Yeah.
So what do we need to do?
I think
as a human race, really, like not just like.
Well, I have thoughts about that.
Okay.
Number one, we need to not look away. Because
face it, right?
We do.
And really talk about those issues, which is the whole purpose of this podcast, really, is to be authentic and real and bring to light things that no one wants to talk about.
Yes.
Because that is real.
Yeah.
Right?
And if it makes you uncomfortable, if someone's suffering makes you uncomfortable, you need to explore that. Like, I have done so much self-reflection, and I'm in no way a perfect human, and I in no way get it right all the time. I just don't. But I challenge myself to put myself in situations where I'm not the most comfortable. There are things I've had to learn how to do just in the animal rescue world that I never would have thought I'd be out there doing. I mean, it's just, it's wild, but then you also feel empowered.
Yeah, you know what I think is so interesting is it seems really noble. Like, I think, you think about people who love animals will say, I love animals. And I work I rescue animals. It sounds so heroic. But the reality is, it's ugly.
It is. Oh, it is ugly. There is loss. There is, there are times that you can't save them. I've had law enforcement bring a kitten to my house, found, while they were out doing their job, and I had to take it to the vet and hold it as it was euthanized because it, we've had a lot of loss. And that is the side of animal rescue that you don't always see and you don't always know.
What keeps you encouraged?
The ones that we save.
I love that. That should be the focus.
It's true.
The focus should be on not what we can't do, but what we can do.
Oh, yeah. And someone once told me, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this or I have to do that, you have to reframe it to, I get to.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that I have a job that I've been able to go to all through COVID, all through everything. I get to. There are days it is hard. I tell my boss I quit often. He doesn't accept it, but I do. I try. But you have to focus on what you get to do. And so if I get to be there for one person, one case, one child, one animal, in that moment, that's enough. And in that moment, that's fulfilling.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's humanity.
It really is. And, it's uncomfortable and it's hard letting yourself feel what someone else feels.
We talked about that the other night, just vulnerability.
Yeah.
And how I think we've both learned that a lot, because I think that things happen in our lives as children and even as young adults that cause us to build up walls. And I know this is hard for me to even talk about, but it's just real. And I do it. I've built up walls, and it's very hard to break through that barrier. And so in the past, I've chosen to talk about and to reveal those things that don't look ugly or those things that I'm comfortable with. But the truth is that if we're going to make a difference in the world, we have to be vulnerable and we have to let down our guard enough to show the ugly side and to show, because I believe we're molded and formed and shaped through adversity.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And when you think back on your life and you're like, if I don't share this, then what's the result? Okay, so I continue to look like this princess movie star, right? But that's not real.
Well, you're showing people the filtered version.
There's a lot of that in today's world.
Yes, and that tells no one who you are. Those who know me and who are in my circle know that my childhood wasn't necessarily a storybook form life.
Right.
I came here broken.
Yes.
I remember.
Know that. Yes.
And it's about what you do next, and it's about the choices you make after that. And we really have to turn those things, those traumas, those experiences into ways that we help others. And we have to show it. There's a reason why when you're hurt, you have a scar, right? So the things that hurt your heart may not have the scar people can see, but that's what you have to show. That's what's the real important stuff.
It is, and I think that, when we let those guards down and we become vulnerable and we share. I had someone tell me once, and I do believe this is true, that if you're dealing with something that's extremely hurtful to you, that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go talk about it right now. But when you get to a point where you can, you should.
Yes. I'm an advocate for therapy. I've been in therapy off and on. I probably had a 10-year gap I didn't go, and I've recently started back going because some things have been heavy with work and things like that. But my therapist taught me, does it need to be said?
Right.
And does it need to be said by me?
Wow.
And the answer to
that's actually powerful.
It really
those are two very powerful questions, and they're very different answers a lot of times.
Exactly right.
And if they're the same, then you do it.
And I wish I could take my 20-year-old self and just be like,
me too,
honey, wait till you're 40 because things are going to make sense.
It's so true.
You're going to kind of have a clue, and then you're just going to live your authentic life and not care, because the things we think are so significant in our 20s, oh my gosh.
So true.
And it's just like, I've learned the only thing I truly can control is how I react to something. And I just have to remember that. I have these things on repeat through my head all day. And like I said, I don't get it right because I got a little Leo fire in me. And I got a temper.
Yeah, like what you said before the podcast?
Yeah.
What did you say? Go ahead. Admit it.
I can't. You told me.
Go ahead. No, you can.
Edit that
beep,
out,
beep,
please.
beep.
Please beep that. I'm so sorry.
But I love what you said about how you were like, I might cuss. And I was like, oh, gosh.
I'm trying.
The last podcast, it was like mostly cussing. And I was like, what? I looked at Sammy and I was like, what are we going to do with that? And he was like, it's up to you. And I'm like, well, it's authentic, you know? But, you know, I loved what you said about cussing because we all do it. Let's be for real.
Right.
Like, if we sit there and say, and it is a habit, like, so most of the time I don't. Yeah. But I do sometimes, especially when it comes to like work and I'm animated. But I love what you said about how you don't say it towards someone.
No, I will not use it towards someone, calling them a name or in like a derogatory way. It is more frustration cussing. Yeah. That's what I do. And that makes it okay.
What is it about cussing that makes us go like,
yeah, it literally relieves me for that moment. It's bizarre.
It's true. I hate to admit that, you know, but it is true. Like there's some sort of relief in that.
Yeah.
So I just want to tell you just how incredibly proud I am of you.
Oh, Tracey.
I really am. Like when I think back to when I met you, and you're right, you were broken and confused, and to fast forward to now, like I'm just sitting here in awe of you, going, "Wow, we all need to be like Kelly."
Maybe not literally like me. Maybe absent the cussing.
No, that's real.
Yeah,
it's all right to be real.
I still remember, and I was thinking about it this morning, the night that I met you. And I remember thinking she's someone I could be friends with. And you know, when you move to a new town and you only know a couple people, that's significant. And I remember, because I had only brought this teeny tiny notepad to write on. And we joked about my teeny tiny paper. And you just made me feel welcome from that first interaction. And that, my friend, is how important one connection is.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope that I can be a friend to lots of people.
Yes, I do too. So. And I think you are. I think you will be. Yeah.
Gosh. I'm super proud of you.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks for making me cry.
Well, it's not a good podcast if someone's not crying.
That's really true. Well, I just want to celebrate you and thank you so much. This is not the last podcast we will do together.
Oh, I have thoughts.
Oh, me too, girl. And when we were at dinner the other night, I was like, we need to talk about that, and we need to talk about that, and we need to talk about that. And together, I think we can really make a difference.
Yes. Cheers. This is amazing. I love it so much.
That's a wrap on Spilling the Tea. Stay tuned for our next podcast.